Welcome to another Creating Magic minisode. I'm Paula,
And I'm Danny. And
and once again we have Angel with us.
Hey
yeah,
everyone.
I think you're just part of the podcast now. You're like no
You
longer
pretty
a
much
guest.
are.
Okay, and I'm Angel.
I love it. All right, so we are here today. We are gathered here today to discuss
Feel like we're
Crescent
in church
City.
ceremony.
Huh?
You're like, we are gathered here
We are
today.
gathered here today to discuss
Or vent.
House or Vent, House of Sky and Breath.
Y'all had a journey on this one.
It took us the entire month. Angel and I were like texting each other, like, "Hey, are you done yet? I'm gonna try to read some chapters today."
I I saw the messages, but I didn't listen to most of them just
Yeah,
because well, I didn't carry my headphones around with me in Japan and I was also sharing rooms, so there was never enough position because you never know what was going to be said.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
try not to listen to like voice messages. So thankfully, like Instagram, since I got back, I guess Instagram updated and has a really good transcription now.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, "Ooh, when did that happen? I could have known what everything was said without
It
listening."
just happened recently though, so like
Yeah, and
I
I
don't.
found it afterwards. I was like, "Oh, now I can like click through because like in Japan, everything is quiet. Like the
Yeah,
trains, no one's on their phone or anything, and so I didn't have my headphones because I was with people. So it's just I'm like, I'll go back, and then I came back and I saw like the end of the journey. I was like, "Oh, I missed some stuff."
it
It
was
was
a
a journey.
journey.
Yeah. Jinx.
I'm gonna start off by saying, well, I think we can warn this is if you haven't read through the second Crescent City book, there are spoilers.
Mhm.
If you haven't read it,
I would
swipe
also
away.
maybe add in ACOTAR spoilers-ish.
Ish, kind of. I mean, yeah, maybe if you haven't read that either,
Yeah, but I
maybe.
definitely would not listen to this one if you have not read Crescent City yet.
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
So, it started off with an insanely long prologue. I was like, this is a book. What is this? And it starts off with like Sophie and Agent, what was his name? Agent, oh
Weather
man.
something.
What is
Graybeard.
it?
No, Grayfeather.
No,
Graybeard.
no, it was
Gray.
not
Gray.
Graybeard.
Isn't it gray? I don't know.
Silver something.
Silver. Yeah, silver. That's what it
Agent
was.
Silver, yeah.
Silver something.
Um, and they're like kind of like trying to get away, and these people are like shooting at them, and Agent Silver, whatever, gets away, and
But
the other one,
Agent Silver was Cormac, right?
Cormac,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
So it starts off with this super long and I think this is honestly, when I got to the end, I think this is what angered me is that you took me through this insanely long prologue, through all these things, and it felt like it turned into nothing. Like you had like Sophie's storyline, and
Mhm.
then she's dead. Her
Her brother.
brother, who supposedly had powers, didn't have powers. Um, Cormac, who was supposed to
Did
marry
you think she was
Bryce.
actually dead at the end of the prologue?
No, at the end of the prologue, I did not. And
I was
even
just
when they
curious because you said,
found,
well, she's dead. And I was like, because through
yeah,
most of the book,
no,
I kept going, she might be alive.
no, even when they found her body, I was like, this must be like, they have to be like, it's like a body double or something.
Yeah.
I don't think she's dead. I was like Angel with Sam. It was like, she's not dead. This is like some thing.
Yeah.
But like I was waiting for that. Like after they found her body, I'm waiting for the big reveal. Like, surprise, I'm still alive. And even if like at that point, if she's alive and Cormac is dead, how sad is that? That's very like Romeo and Juliet, like
Mhm.
he dies, he thought she was already dead, and then boom, she comes back, but he's dead now. So like there's that like whole, I don't know, I just felt like that whole thing was for nothing. It did not, it felt like nothing unless something comes up in the next book, like with those people. It felt like nothing. Then you sent Emil off to Bryce's parents. It was just, I was so disappointed. And then to use my man's name in vain, I was so it felt cheap. I felt like it was like a cheap shot. Like, hey, let me. Angel was like, you gotta go live to read the last chapter. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll read the last chapter live. And I knew that there was like some type of crossover, but I didn't realize that's what it was.
Right. Or even that it was that big, right? Like it wasn't just some like in Throne of Glass. I mean, Throne of Glass spoiler.
Where you
Right.
assume that it's, yeah,
Yeah. But it
It's
was like
very
a legit,
blatant.
they are there. There's no guessing who's who, right? So
yeah. Yeah, at first I was confused because they described, and I guess I had never like pictured it that way. They describe Asriel's wings as like demon wings. And I never thought of it like that because to me they're majestic, right? Like they're like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't see it
But
as like
well,
demon.
and I think part of that comes from they're from a world where the angels or the people with wings were
not better.
controlling, so seeing them in a dark color,
Hmm.
Right.
they're like, oh,
Oh,
these
this
are
must be a
more like
demon.
people with wings were not people we wanted to deal with for the longest time.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
almost like
So
a
that makes
stereotype.
sense. Yeah. But like the one I picked up on right away, I was like, "Oh, this is Amarin
Yeah.
for sure." But except when they said that she was wearing like old-fashioned clothes, because in my head, Amarin is like very
Very
hip,
modern.
very modern, like edgy, like super
Mhm.
cool,
But
like
when you put them in like 2050 technology, they
right.
are now like to us, we're like, yeah, it's like I'm like, I think Hobbit clothes are cool, but if you actually put them in context, you're like, no, those are very dated.
Those are very dated,
Like,
yeah. And the thing that really threw me off was that they were speaking another language. Because to me, I'm reading it in English, right?
hmm
So it didn't hit me that nobody's really speaking English, we'll say.
Yeah.
It was just, that she's speaking in a language that I didn't understand, and I was like, what? What are you talking about? These people speak English. But yeah, but the rest of it, I was just even. You know how I felt about like the slow burn in
Yeah.
um Earth and Blood. I'm not a slow burn girly for sure.
No.
It could be a little slow, but not too slow. Not where it takes a book and three quarters. Um, Even the spice scenes felt. I was like, I don't. This. I waited for this. It didn't feel. I don't know. They didn't feel like romantic spice scenes. Nicolette made a good point today that it feels like it was written by somebody else.
hmm
And I agree with that. It doesn't feel like the other books I've read, right? Like
I
even
think it also feels like Bryce's voice, like because she's very much like your stereotypical like party girl type of stereotype.
maybe.
And that's how I feel like the voice is very much the voice of the book, but it doesn't equate to like the other books which are a little more poetic in a way.
Yeah.
What did
I
you
was
guys Oh, go on, Angel.
I was gonna pick up. I was gonna say that I talked to Paula early on in the book too about. I was thinking a little bit about crossover stuff, but when she was talking about her, what is it you call it, Paula? Her Care Bear
The
stare.
Care Bear stare.
Yeah, her light and stuff. Like I think I sent a message to Paula again. Akatar spoilers. I was like, what was it that Nesta did in at the end of
So Silver Flame.
Silver Flames when she like when everybody was healed or everything with her power and the glow and all that stuff? Was it just light that happened, or did she like emit a glow? I couldn't remember exactly, but I remember
Yeah,
there
we
being
sent
some
each
really
other
light.
like
Right.
screenshots of the
And then Cormac, I didn't catch it the first time he appeared. We were first introduced to him, um, but maybe around it was the third iteration of him being there. And I don't think he had been revealed to be in line with like in cahoots with the rebels.
the
But I
rebels,
was
yeah.
like, is he winnowing? And I sent Paula again a message like this sounds to me a lot like they're winnowing in Akatar.
The
And I
teleporting.
was
He called it
right,
teleporting, yeah.
right. And so I was thinking about a lot of like what's happening in terms of like their powers and things like that if they are descended from the Fae. And to me, now that at the end we learned that they've kind of, it sounds like they've just created a farm, that they've taken people from different places. Is that what we understand? That
Yeah,
Midgard
it's like
isn't
kind of they're making like a melting pot, but
exactly.
it's not the good
So,
kind.
right, right, right. So, like, are people like if you remember Tamlin's court, weren't they all shapeshifters? Like, wasn't it the wolves that died? Like, it was one of his henchmen that died in
Yes.
book one. It was
Yes.
a wolf, right?
Yeah.
And then he shifted into that kind of wolf-like lion horn thing, right? And so I was trying to
Like
think,
the horn thing.
and I was trying to think about like the fire sprites and thinking about what other sorts of creatures we had been maybe introduced to in Akatar that were also present here. And I couldn't remember. Like, maybe we'll have a Suriel. Who knows? I don't know. I wish.
Well, it's also interesting is because in Akatar, we have not visited
All of the courts.
all of the
Right.
courts. So some of these creatures that we are used to or like beings may exist in these other courts. And also we know in Akatar, yeah, there's all these courts, but there's also the human world.
Right.
So what
Right
else is
beyond the
happening
wall or
in that
whatever.
world? So you have a
Yeah.
lot more to go on. What did you think when Rhysand showed up and they were using the descriptor that he looked very similar to Rune?
Rune.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Hmm.
The only difference was that he had actual stars in his eyes. That's how I knew that it was Rhysand. Um,
You know Rune's my favorite, so.
yes, I know he's your favorite. I'm hoping that he shows me why he's your favorite in the next.
Or that the only reason we're picking up the next one is because of the way this one ended. Right. Oh, I mean, and the pod.
I mean,
But
some people, it's like very,
I
because I
don't
did
love
ask
how book
people.
three ended.
Okay.
I will say that. Um,
cliffhangery or not cliffhangery?
hmm?
Cliffhangery or
Does it
not?
end cliffhangery or not?
It To me, it feels like it can finish the story, except there's other people's stories I need. Like there's some
Mm.
like I need to know more about like Therian and Ian, Ian,
Ethan.
Ethan,
Ethan.
and not Jacob.
Hmm.
Um, and I think, and I don't know if it's because for me, I like Therian, so I want his more of his story.
Yeah.
Because like I'm like, I guess his story could be ended, but I want more because I
How
liked it.
about I thought I thought that Hypaxia and Therian were like a thing, and then chapter, I think it's 60, Hunt and Bryce go to Spice Be Spicing in a closet and find Celestina and Hypaxia in there. That was like the biggest, like, what? And it was, you know what happened to me in that one? I was reading and I saw it like before I got to it. I was like, no. So then I started reading like this.
Is it revealed who Day is in this book?
Yes.
Yes, the
Okay.
Hind. Yeah. I thought at first I thought it was Hypaxia.
Same here.
Then I thought it was Celestina.
Same here.
And then when the harpy showed up on the roof, I was like, ooh. And he asked Day, and she was like, what does that even mean? I'm thinking like, well, stupid, if she finds out it's you, like she's not going to confirm. Like if she doesn't want you to know that it's her, she's not going to say night. So I didn't think that that was like a good way of, I don't know, exchanging information. To me, it would be like if I show up and I'm wearing sunglasses, I don't know. It shouldn't be like a word for a word because you're giving the other person the ball essentially, like, and they can confirm or not.
Yeah.
So then I was like, maybe she's just lying. At no point did I think that it was behind. Like I towards the end, I was like, well, maybe it's her, I guess. Because at the beginning, for sure, I was like, this has to be hypaxia. It has to be.
Mhm.
But I should have known better, you know. It's a twin in the tower again. I have a friend that's reading a glass right now, and I'm dying to tell her about my twin theory, but I can't yet. Oh.
Do you guys think Cormac's actually dead?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little unconvinced. Like,
Danny can answer that. Danny
No,
can neither
I'm
confirm nor deny.
like I can't
You think maybe he
remember.
like teleported out of there
Well, I
before it
mean,
blew up?
he could have,
Yeah.
I'm
he
going
could
off
have.
what I remember how I
So they
felt
show
after
up.
book two, and I don't think he is dead. I'm going with because I have like
Hmm.
I still remember like my impressions because that book was only it was more recent than others, and I was like,
Mhm.
no, because I reread it last year before book three.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
I
I at that time I did not think he's dead.
I don't know. I don't think he is. I mean, he very well could be, but
A whole nother Sam
um,
situation. Cormac
yeah,
lives.
another whole Sam situation. Yeah, but I mean, but if Seffi, no, not Seffi, Sophie,
Sophie.
if
I was
Sophie,
like,
yeah, is really dead, then I mean, maybe he's like, oh, because they were a thing. So he's like, okay, well, I have nothing to live for, right? Who knows?
yeah.
But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. What I was gonna ask you guys is, what do we think about? Can you guys remind me in Akatar about the Firebird?
There's a
The
Firebird.
Was it
It's
the
been so
witch?
long.
Was
It's
it one of the
it
witch or the
is one of
princesses or the
the
queens?
immortal human people.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
immortal
The one
human.
that guy had trapped, right?
Yes.
She was like
Okay.
the younger one
Yeah, she was the
or
younger
young.
one that was helping them.
Yeah.
And okay, I was just
She
trying
was
to
a
think
phoenix,
about,
right?
yes, like she
I
was
think she was a
trapped in
phoenix.
that form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay, because I was thinking like when they were mind communicating and she was like enveloped in flames or whatever, I was wondering if there was some sort of relationship there, but I don't know.
I don't think it is. I think it is just how they appeared to each other. Like
Right. It was like
it
a
Okay.
felt
like
very natural for Rune to appear more as like as night, as darkness, because
Okay.
it's kind of in his character, whereas
Or
he
his
goes by
heritage.
day, which like the names kind of reflect who they are.
Right. But it's also, but
Um,
if he looked like Reese, then isn't it also in his, blood?
mhm.
I mean, what do they say about what's the word, the phrase in, is it in Akatar or TOG, the blood lines are strong or whatever? I always forget what it's called.
Like calls to like.
the like.
Like
Yeah.
calls to like, but no, there's the other one. There's the one about the
There's one
blood.
about the bloodlines.
Something about bloodlines. I can't remember.
I have a
But it's
question
also
for
very
you.
interesting
Do
is that they
you
really point out that his bloodline isn't strong.
Or that it
right,
ends with
that's part
him.
of that,
Like that's
or
a
that
big
it
part of
ends with
his
him, yeah.
story is that he
Mm,
knows he is not going to carry on his bloodline.
right.
But is it because he's infertile or because he's gonna die?
I think because it's a prophecy, I think it goes more along the lines of the line of magic, not necessarily blood. Because we
Okay.
know from, is it Hellion is the cat? No.
Syrinx?
Syrinx.
Syrinx.
No, not that cat, the demon cat, the demon that shows up as a cat.
Oh, Adius.
Adius, yeah.
Adis, Adis, Adidas.
Adidas.
Adidas shoes. Um, but like from him, we learn that and he's like, I know where your magic comes from. And he's talking about the line of magic is that Bryce's magic is light, whereas Rune's is the male line of it. And so my thought was all like always on that situation was that it wasn't his bloodline that was ending, it was the line of magic because it's already
Mm,
very depleted and Bryce is carrying the female line and therefore their lines of magic are different. And so
Okay.
I think
I,
that bloodline is actually the magic line that is within him because if
so you
he
think the
dies, I will
female
riot.
carries the magic gene?
Hmm?
You think the magic gene is stronger in the female line?
I think because of how Adius talks about it, it's her power was stronger and it was like a lighter magic,
Yeah.
like a more pure type of magic. And we all like, and they talk about multiple times how as like their bloodline is fading, that they need to have like matches because they want to make it stronger, and they're like grasping for it, and like the whole situation with the sword and everything, like, so it just feels like magic is fading in Bryce's world. It's
Right.
not as readily available, probably because they're sacrificing it off to the world of the dead all the time.
Did you guys think that the Steri are Vogue,
No, I didn't get that at all.
because if they're like parasitic and stuff like that, is what I was thinking.
I didn't think Vogue. I don't know. I never, well,
Um,
I don't read like that.
mhm.
Jessica.
Oh yeah, what about her?
We
Where is she?
get a lot of
We did,
Jessica in this book.
we got like twice. She called her
Where
up.
she called her for help.
Yes, and she's like,
She called her for the, what are they
figure it
called?
out.
The blood marks?
Yeah.
No, death marks,
Yes.
whatever, to get to the bone quarter, which that
Right.
crap was crazy. Um, and for another book, right? For like a book or
Yes.
something.
Information.
In the book, you do run across the book of breathings in the book when she's like looking
Mhm.
in the archives, she says book of breathings, and I was like, oh,
Wait, hold on. You're gonna have to remind me. I totally missed this book of
it's
breathing thing.
in Akatar. It's the book that they put together when
For
when Feyre joined. When remember when we thought that Amryn was like double agent, that she
oh
basically lets her
oh, I
hold the
totally
book
missed
but
it.
doesn't like help. Yeah,
It's funny because I remember that. I remember a title being said, but I totally flew over me about
yeah.
the
She says a
book
couple
of it.
titles, but when that one came up, I was like,
Okay.
so I have a question for you, Danny, because you've read all three. Do you think that the first book alone could have been a standalone?
No.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Yes. No, yes. Classic
Yes,
Danny
if you're
response.
only following Bryce's journey
Okay. Yeah. I've
and
talked to a couple
ignoring the
people who are
side
like,
characters.
yeah, I talked to a couple people that were like, oh, I mean, I had people who said that this was their favorite. Nicolette says that out of the three, this one's her favorite. Um, and other people who were like, what are you talking about, the second book? I
But is it
only
because?
recognize the first one.
But is it only because? Did Nicolette say why this is her favorite? Is it
I
because of the
didn't
end?
really
Because
ask her because I haven't read all three.
mhm,
So,
Yes, that's a
like,
conversation for after
yeah,
all
like
three are
yeah,
read.
afterwards, I would ask her, like, hey, why did you think? And maybe that will change for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think so. Now that I've had all the fast burn, I kind of wish it stayed slow.
You see, because for me, it
Ask
was
and you
like
shall receive. Maybe I shouldn't have asked.
I had I had thought like at the end, like I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I needed. But it might have been like because I think you said like, did I really need like 600 pages of this just for a little bit of this? You know what I mean? But I felt like I told you, it felt so nostalgic for me, like, oh my gosh, more Akatar, right?
Yeah,
And I
I
was
mean, I
like,
got
this is great,
excited reading it, but to me, that doesn't repair the rest of the book for me. You know,
right?
it
I
didn't.
think one of the things I liked about it is we were getting other people's stories because I'm not like the biggest Bryce and Hunt fan.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I
Oh, I
want to
love
hear the
Hunt.
other stories. I want like Ethan's stories. There, as I've already said, I love Therian. So there was like a talk that she will have a like water-based series,
Hmm.
and I keep just wanting it to be like a Therian story. That's what I
Mm,
want.
I wonder what's going to happen to Therian now because he did like did basically a blood oath to the Viper Queen.
right.
Um, and when he left, that he was running. At first, I was like, is he running to her? Like, or is he running somewhere else? But he ends up being on that depth charger thing.
So, what would you like to see in the next book?
More Akatar.
And who? And who? Who would you like to see?
I mean, I'm not unhappy with Bryce or Hunt. I would just like more more plot that makes sense. It didn't make sense to me. And again, it could be because I haven't finished it, so maybe it will make sense once I read the third book. Um, but obviously, I'd like to know more about the lost Fendir heir, the mystic. I want to know how the Prime knows. Is it like his daughter? Is it Sabine's daughter? Who does this mystic belong to? That's what I want to know. Who gave her away? Um,
I'd like to see more. Like, I want to know. Like, for me, like I told Paula, I was like, the only reason I'm picking up the third one is because we got that last chapter. Otherwise, I would have been like, nope.
they got you. They got you.
It's
Yeah,
so funny, like watching you guys read it, knowing like you could just turn to the next book. Whereas, like, we got that book, we read the last chapter, and we were like, and we had no
And you
idea
had to
how long we were
wait.
gonna have to wait.
right.
And how long did you have to wait?
It was about a year, maybe
Yeah.
two.
Mhm.
It all blends together.
Yeah. I don't know.
Speaking
I
of
hope
book
it's more.
releases,
I hope it's more exciting than this one. It wasn't like a, oh, I got to keep reading. It was like it was a chore to read.
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
literally the whole time you were gone, Angel and I were checking on each other. Hey, because we would see that we were reading other books,
Right.
or we were like,
Well,
"Hey, are you
now
gonna
that it's
finish?"
May, we are moving on to book three.
We are moving on to book three.
I did learn I'm not a,
Happy Calendar.
yes.
This will be the end of our Mossverse
I know. We'll
dive
be done
for the
until
time
they give us
being.
that ACOTAR book.
So I keep hoping for an announcement.
I
I don't
people
know
keep
what
forwarding
series
me
I'll take any
reels.
series at this point. I prefer ACOTAR, but
Yeah. I People keep forwarding me reels because she signed that book or whatever, that giant book. And
mhm.
it said, what was it? I was a wolf or something like that. I don't know.
Hmm.
And people are like, "Oh, well, Bryce was referred to as a wolf." And I'm like, listen, don't I unless it's coming from Bloomsbury or SJM herself, do not forward me any of these reels. I do not care at this moment. Everything is a lie. I haven't no nothing. And today, of course, because it's Calenmai or whatever, um, everybody's posting their things. And because on the 5th is the 10-year anniversary of when ACOTAR was released, they're
Wild.
thinking that it's that. And I was like,
Mhm.
that maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. But
So I
anyway,
feel like
yeah, we're gonna be
we have to
reading
like
what
plan
is
something now for the fifth. Like,
Flame and Shadow is the next
uh,
one. It is.
yes, Flame and Shadow.
so
All right. So we got Fable. We already switched the book.
yes.
You can get started now. This is releasing the next day. So,
Yes, this is releasing tomorrow. So I already
um,
updated on Fable. We'll keep you posted on what series we will do next, or standalones, or TBD. TBD.
TBD.
So until next time,
Keep
keep
creating.
creating.